So anyway, here I am on the top of this hill on Cornwall again, walking dog. And of course, you know, I'm looking around here and the world is, it appears really unified. You can't see this, but I can see the horizon. Probably 70 degrees of my view is the horizon. And I can see lots of fields and villages and roads and stuff, clouds in the sky, ground under my feet. And it all feels like a single thing, you know. My experience feels unified. It feels like there's only one thing going on, and I'm more or less at the centre of it, and I'm connected to it in some way. And you know, I don't experience myself as living in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 worlds. I experience myself as being in one world. Now I know some people do have different experiences. I read that the author Philip K. Dick experienced himself as living in at least 2 worlds. Get out of the way, Phoebe, you're not the camera over. Sorry, I'm talking. Quite away, come on. At least 2 worlds. But that's unusual, I think. I'd love to try that just for a while. But anyway, I'm guessing you have the same, more or less the same experience than me, of living in one world. And I'm wondering how much that affects our, well, kind of the metaphysics, I don't know if that's the right word really, sort of our understanding, or what we just kind of what we expect when we look out into the world more broadly, in a more abstract sense, you know what I mean? Like, it feels natural to think that there's only one thing going on, you know what I mean? Unity. We call it the universe, don't we? And even when we say, oh well, it may not be a universe, it may be a multiverse, then we start calling it the multiverse, like there's only one multiverse. You know, so whatever scale of operation, how many different components we find, we think these are all part of a singular whole. And it seems to be that kind of, it's almost a myth. And by myth I don't mean false. It could be false, it could be true. I mean myth in the sense that it's one of those important organising ideas. The idea that there's only... Can you see my dog behind me, by the way? Isn't he great? Look at that. There's only one thing going on. You know, so this idea of that... Because, I mean, you find that in monotheistic religions, of course, don't you? There's a great book, History of God, actually. If you get a chance to look at that, it's worth a look. Karen Armstrong, is it? It's really good. But she gives the history of that, how monotheistic religions come about. That's really fascinating, because it seems to me that's part of that, and part of the story of those things. You know, part of the idea of that is unity, isn't it? Unity with the Godhead. That's part of that process. What do you think? We're just talking about unity and monotheistic religions. Sorry. But you also find it in science, don't you? Like the quest for a grand unification theory. Theories of everything, that idea. And it feels intuitively right that there should be that, you know, there should be one thing. But why one? You know, why not 2? Why not 7? 48? You know, why aren't there 100? Why isn't there like 102? That's it. There are 102 things. The universe. Do you see? I can't even think of it, because every time I think the universe divides naturally into 102 things, then I've got the universe, haven't I? The uni is there, the oneness. And that idea of the one, you know, you find it in a lot of philosophical writing going back millennia, don't you? You know, it's there in Plotinus, it's there in Parmenides. Oh, you name it, really. It's Plato. It's all that kind of the Neoplatonists. It's all that stuff. It's a very powerful idea, I think. Very powerful need almost that we have. But maybe, as I say, maybe it's a need or a felt sense of obviousness. Of course, there's only one thing. Maybe that sense of obviousness comes from, as I said before, you know, that here we are, or here I am. Apparently a unified being with my unified sense of consciousness. But you know, as soon as you look at consciousness, you know it's not like that. I mean, if you know, a fairly rudimentary bit of reading around consciousness demonstrates that it's not really as unified as it appears. You know, it's full of fragments and glitches and holes and cobbled together patches and stuff. You know, made whole. There's a really nice paper by a guy called Semir Zeki, who's a neuroscientist based in London. He's got a good blog actually, but he did a paper called The Disunity of Consciousness talking about this. You know, and even just a kind of fairly rudimentary self-examination reveals that my mind is as divided as everybody else is, really. I'm all over the shop, and this sense of an of a single experience going on, to which I am ineluctably welded, is you know, it's just something that's happening, really. That's just part of the thing that's happening. But it's producing, I think, it's producing this really strong myth of oneness. The one, you know. There can only be one. Is that Highlander? There can only be one. Or Neo in the Matrix, the one. Why isn't there four of them? I don't know. Anyhow. Yeah. The myth of one.